Hi, everyone. I am here with Katie Thompson, who's our new
Hi.
friend at Naps.
So happy to be here.
I know, I'm so happy to have you, and I feel like you've probably been up for hours at this point. It's 9 in the morning, but it's probably almost lunchtime for you. Katie is an anchor and reporter for WCVB The Eye Opener. So I'm super excited to talk a little bit about that, but I assume you've been up at this point for a bit today.
Well, so my day starts around 2:30 is when the alarm goes off for the first time. Sometimes there's 2:40, 2:42. Yeah, so it's definitely lunchtime.
What time do you go to bed?
I try to go to bed at 8 o'clock, around there. I put my daughter to bed at 7, and then I rush like a mad woman to get a few things done, maybe watch a show with my husband, and then I'm right to bed. But I prep for the next day all throughout the day, just so that
Yep.
when my daughter goes to bed, I at least feel ready for the next day.
Oh my gosh. So everyone, this is why I brought Katie on, because you're such a badass working mom. I want to dive into that. I feel like really quick, I'll just let people know how we met. We met because you recently came to Naps and actually interviewed Jamie and I. And we had so much fun at the interview, and then learned that you were a mom and your daughter just turned 1. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many things that we could talk about together on the podcast.
I know. I felt like I could have talked to you girls all day. I followed you for pretty much my entire pregnancy and then the whole first year of my daughter's life. I've stalked your Facebook group page. I've put in a lot of keywords for questions that I've had. So in the background, before we even met in person, you guys have been a resource for me.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So I think what's really fun is that your daughter, what's your daughter's name? Tell everybody.
Bryn.
Bryn, and she literally did just turn 1. She's a bit younger than my daughter Eloise, but
yeah, Bryn turned 1 on December 1st. So she was born 2021. And yeah, it was the fastest, craziest year of my life, which is hard to even think about, because when you're pregnant, it feels like 9-10 months is an eternity of time. And then 9-10 months is a blink of an eye when you have a baby.
Well, especially when you just described some of your routine. Like,
yeah, my brain is a little bit of mush.
Like constantly moving.
Yeah.
I want to go through like what a day is like for you, but
Sure.
I think a really fun place to start is just the 1-year-old, right? I mean, part of what we talked about when you were here at Naps with us in person is just like all of the things that change at a year. It's really overwhelming. I feel like, what's the biggest thing that's changed for you and your family now that Bryn is 1?
I think just watching her have a real blooming, blossoming personality where she's picking up on things faster. You know, she can learn new skills in an hour or a day, whereas before, you know, it would be like you kind of expect something to happen around so many weeks, and then again 4 weeks later maybe something different happens. Now it's just every day things are happening. And so I understand when people say the years fly by and they go faster and faster. I think that's just because she's just hit this age where she's learning everything, and it just makes time fly.
Oh my, is she crawling everywhere too?
She just started crawling. It's funny. I had a friend in town who has a baby 5 days younger than Bryn, who was just a little advanced with her movements. Bryn wasn't crawling to stand or pulling to stand yet. And within the weekend, she was watching this other baby pulled to stand. And since then, it's pulling up on the couch, crawling everywhere. It unlocked this confidence for movement in her, and now it's like we're off to the races, and she doesn't want to sit anymore. She just wants to stand and hold on to things, which is great. And also not great when I look in the monitor and she's like right there with her face
right
in
up
the camera. It's creepy. Yeah, we've unlocked some challenges when it comes to the naps.
So, I mean, but when you bring up this other like baby that was there playing too, it's such a good reminder for everybody listening. You truly can't compare babies, even when they're the same age or slightly months apart, right? So for example, my godson, Colton, is younger than Eloise. But they're pretty close in age. And every time we spend time together, he's always one full milestone or whatever before her. And I feel like it's after we hang out with them in the next coming weeks or like in the next month, she'll do what he's doing, whether it's like laying on his belly like Peter Pan, like so happy during tummy time, rolling over, pulling up on furniture. He crawled first, he walked first, like he always was doing things first. And it's I do think as like a parent, when you're around other parents with babies similar age, it's even I find myself like, oh my gosh, she's not doing that yet.
As a first-time mom, that was the biggest challenge that I faced and still kind of face, but something that kept me up at night was milestones and comparison of babies. Because I found myself with this girl gang of pregnant mothers when I announced that I was pregnant on TV. Other women who watched or heard, found me, and we kind of had this solidarity, even though we had never met each other, that we were all pregnant at the same time. So then you see all their babies and you're constantly comparing, what are their babies doing? What's my baby doing? And it ate me up so many times to where I would have my mother-in-law watches Bryn 5 days a week when I'm at work. My husband's at work. We are so blessed to have family around. I'd be sending her articles and like tips to try to get Bryn to roll from her back to her front, to her stomach, and vice versa, and crawling techniques. And it was like I was giving my mother-in-law a workout plan for my baby when I should have just sat back and chilled out. And looking back, there are so many things I would have just told myself to relax about.
Right. I mean, those are the things though that we don't realize or like look back on until it's the 1 year marker. I feel like babies turn one, and you're like, oh my gosh, I kept a child alive for a year. Yes. And they start to change and they're moving more. And then you start to look back and you're like, wow.
Yeah. No, totally.
And matter all those things that I worried about, or those articles that I was sending my mother-in-law. So
yeah. Oh, the middle of the night Googling, from the moment that I had her home from the hospital, up breastfeeding her all night, one hand on my phone, Googling, till now. It's enough to drive you crazy, and I'm guilty of it.
Yeah, we all are.
Yeah.
Just right there at your fingertips.
Exactly.
You mentioned like naps as a struggle. I have other questions for you, but just, I feel like while we have each other here, this is a moment where, do you have a quick pain point we could solve this morning on the podcast for napping?
I don't think we're ready for one nap yet, but I think that we're getting closer. And I find that she's able to have a longer wake window in the morning. And then if I give her that, it kind of shifts everything to where maybe her second nap is a little too late in the day.
Totally.
And so when she's not tired enough, she'll stand in her crib and she'll spend 45 minutes just
looking at you,
tooling around and looking at me and biting on the crib. And then I'm like, okay, well, she's asleep. Do I extend this nap? I'm thankful her entire life, all 365 days of it so far, she's been a really good sleeper, and I've been really strict with a schedule, but now I'm in this place where I'm trying to be a little bit more relaxed, and I just don't know how to assess how much daytime sleep she needs.
Oh my gosh, let's solve this, because you're a working mom and you thrive on a schedule because you have to in the industry that you're in. You're a news anchor, you're a reporter, you're out in the field. You have to be in bed at a certain time because your alarm goes off at 2:30, which I want to come back to that. That is like, oh my God, nightmare for me thinking about that. So let me quick things for you and for anybody, right, with this 1 year old is, so babies often drop from the 2 to 1 naps. It's a range between 12 and 18 months of age that they might be ready to do this, but it's not this light switch where they turn a year or they're a little bit into the year and it's like, boom, they drop to 1 nap. Some babies do that, but most babies live in this like gray area for a while. And so every day could look a little different, right? Where like sometimes they take the morning nap and they still go down for the afternoon nap. Sometimes you go to put them down for the morning nap and they're wide awake and they're like, I'm not doing it. Or they might like fall asleep on a stroller ride and then it sets the whole afternoon off. It's this like gray area for a bit. And so rather than just drop a baby, she just turned 1. She's still little. It sounds like she needs some form of 2 naps right now. So my advice for you or for anyone with this situation would be to keep the morning nap, but we make it a morning cat nap. And it has to happen somewhere between like 8:30 and 9:30. Because if it happens like too late in the morning, it's going to ruin the rest of the day. So sometimes kids will do this on the go. So for Eloise, we did this. We would take her out like in the morning, or my nanny would take her out on a walk to like go somewhere, and she would fall asleep for like a cat nap, 20-30 minutes. I'm talking here, like a quickie. And then it's great if you're going somewhere, because then you get to where you're going and you can get them up and do an activity. And we're trying to keep that afternoon nap, right? Because that's like your big nap usually that's consolidated. And so I try to have parents hang on to that cat nap for as long as possible, as long as it's not interfering with the afternoon nap.
Okay.
And it is though, like when they just fully won't take the cat nap, or it's really like even 30 minutes in the morning just completely ruins the afternoon nap, then we just go to 1. We forge ahead. But it's not going to be in the late afternoon like usual. It's going to be in the middle of the day.
Right. And that's what I'm looking forward to, is that 2-hour stretch, because I'll have just gotten home from work and I need that time. It's what I bank on to just get myself ready and prepped for the rest of the day, or hop on the Peloton or something. So if I do an earlier cat nap in the morning, do I move up the second nap?
What time's her second nap right now?
So right now our schedule is that she usually goes down for an hour from 10 to 11, and then she goes down 2:30 to 3:45 in the afternoon.
Okay. Yeah. So what I would do is let her have the cat nap in the morning, but try to do it 30 minutes sooner. Let her sleep for 30 minutes. The afternoon nap will likely fall a little sooner than that now. It's going to be, I bet you, somewhere between 1 and 2 o'clock. When you drop to 1 nap, they can't make it till 2 in the afternoon at that point, and you have to work for it too. It's not like they magically just stay awake. They usually they crush the morning, and it's about, I would say, like 10 to 11 in the morning that first week of dropping to 1 nap. 10 to 11 a.m. just kind of stinks. Like,
yeah,
they're like hard. They're messy and they're tired, but at that point you're like, it's too late for the nap and I need to get you. So you forge ahead, and then you end up with an earlier lunch and an earlier nap. Some kids are now going down at noon, right? It's the middle of the day, a nap. And then it's this gradual progression over the next few weeks where you're on the 1 nap and you're slowly increasing that awake window in the morning and forging ahead without the nap. And you're slowly moving out that afternoon nap. And we're talking like 5 minutes. And eventually you end up with a nice wake up time, a full morning activity, a lunch, maybe a nap at 1 that lasts until 3 or 3:30. Some kids are 2 to 4, right? It depends on your bedtime. But I think actually I'm excited we're talking about this because it's back to that gray area. It's not like, imagine like sleep training with a baby. We're like, put him in the crib, let him figure it out. And 3 nights later, bam, magical, they're sleeping. Like, a toddler is more resilient and they're going to take a little bit more time to transition. So when you're in this gray area and you finally work your way out of it, you have to work for it a little bit. So just know and set the expectations. A couple weeks into it, you're on to 1 nap and your life is back to like, it's a new schedule probably for you, but it's great. It's awesome.
Everything gets comfortable, totally changes.
Totally.
That's, that's been motherhood for me, is like, I figure it out and then we got to change it again.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like you get into your groove finally. They're like sleeping through the night, or you have the schedule down and you're like, okay, now that you're comfortable, I'm going to come in and like make another change.
Yes, exactly. And it's kind of like I have to retrain myself, my husband, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, my parents, anybody that watches Bryn on a regular basis. We're like, all right, we're switching this up again. But when it works, it's something that I'm so passionate about sticking to, because I am all for parents who just live life on cues, and that works for them. For me, I knew from the very beginning, I needed to have a schedule and routine and
Yep.
something that I could count on for my own sanity.
Totally. But it also sounds like you've never been so rigid that you don't follow her lead, right? Like you found this
Right.
balance, right? You found this balance of like respecting her age and her milestones and where she's at, getting her into an appropriate routine based on that age, and then like rerouting your whole life and family around that, living in that. She's ready to change, we're changing again. Right? It's not
Exactly.
like you're not forcing something that's not
I'm
there.
not forcing something. It's
I love it.
she's leading the way, but it's definitely easier when you are having somebody else watch her to be able to say, here's the expectations that you can have. And then it transitioned back to me with the same expectations.
Yeah. So I'm fascinated by your routine and schedule. I really want to talk about this. Anybody that knows Naps or follows us and knows me in particular knows that I'm obsessed with sleep. I thrive on sleep. I need to lock in like a solid 10 hours every night to function as a human.
10 hours?
I'm kind of joking, but like at least 8. It's got to be at least 8.
Okay, you need to, I mean, I say you need to write a book. You basically are and do, but with 3 kids, that's amazing.
I go to bed when my kids go to bed. So I put them all to bed between 7:30 and 8:30 because they're all like kind of different ages right now. And I often fall asleep at 8:30 or 9. So
Yeah,
I can be up to
same.
function around 6. Like I'm looking at locking in a solid night. So when you say your alarm goes off at 2:30, for me, like that's like when I'm entering that really deep, like I'm out. Like what's a day like for you?
Well, I will say most recently when my alarm goes off, the first thing that I think about is going back to bed.
Totally.
And that's not great, but it's true. And I've done morning television for the better part of 10 years. So I've learned alone how to be disciplined and what works for me when it comes to functioning on probably less than what a doctor would say is the best amount of sleep to get per night. I get the best sleep that I can get in the least amount of time that I have to do it, if that makes any sense. So, I mean, drinking a lot of water, eating well, getting decent exercise, all things that I found are kind of critical for me to not end up burnt out, overtired, and miserable to be around. So,
Right. Yeah.
when I put Bryn to bed at 7, I am trying to be in my bed by 8 at the latest. I might be in my bed at 7:15, 7:20 and be passed out by 7:30 on a good night. And then feeling, I'm tired when that alarm goes off, but I'm so used to being awake at those hours that it doesn't take long for me to just kick into gear and feel normal. I may wake up feeling like this is the worst thing ever, but give me 20 minutes and I'm raring to go and the brain's kicked on and I'm out the door by 3. I'm at the station in Needham by 3:30. I'm doing my own hair and makeup by 3:45 and I'm getting my show ready by 4:15 to be on the air by 4:30. So I talk about living my life in schedule and routine. That's because I'm trained that way, where every second, every minute counts in the morning. And if it's winter and I need to shovel off my car, or I need to set my alarm 15 minutes earlier because I just don't have any of that time banked in on the other end. So
There's no buffer time. You've got to be.
There's 0 buffer time, which is my husband makes fun of me because when I take vacations, I book buffer days on either end of the vacation because I just don't ever want to be going from the end of my vacation to a 2:30 a.m. alarm. I need like a whole buffer day to get my mind right. And he's like, what do you do? Like, why do you tack on these days of just nothing? And I'm like, because I mentally need them. Because there's no buffer time. So when I was pregnant.
But all parents listening should take that advice, Katie, of the buffer days around the kids.
Yeah.
I don't do that, and I should. Jamie does that. So like she'll have a day on either end, like breathe and pack and get ready so they can go the next day. And then they'll come home usually on a Saturday. So they have all of Sunday to get ready. And I'm always like flying at the last minute, but a buffer day for vacation is a wonderful piece of advice. It's just,
you need it. I need it because it just helps me organize my thoughts, organize my family. I can't come home with bags and leave them there unpacked. I'm that psychopath that unpacks and puts stuff in the laundry like the second we get home. And I do that with my daughter's stuff too. I just need to feel like things are in their place and organized for me to be able to just be in the best mindset for the following day. It's a taxing job. The hours are the hardest part, to be honest. You know, the job itself is hard.
Like you go on the air in the morning, but then like when you came to Naps, you came in the middle of
9 o'clock. So
you got to go around and capture stories all day too. And then when do you edit and produce them? Like it's a lot of work.
And it's a lot of work you have to be really efficient for what I do, because I'm in the studio till 7 a.m. and then we cut into Good Morning America 4 times over the course of 3 hours or 2 hours. So every 30 minutes. So then by 9 a.m. I kind of regroup and I shift into reporter mode. That's when I'm driving to South Boston, setting up with my photographer, interviewing you guys. And thankfully I had an extra day to edit. Many days I'm talking to you guys, I'm interviewing, and then I go to my car and I put the card in my computer and I write the story in the next hour and a half, and I hand it off to a photographer who is working maybe till 3 p.m. instead of noon and has those extra 3 hours to edit. And that's how we do things on a day-to-day basis. I'm just I start early and I end early, and I have a very short amount of time on the back end to put my stories together. So I think maybe that's just why the way that I am with parenting and in my household, because I'm always thinking a few steps ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you have to function. But
exactly.
So you are, you're a thriving working parent. Like you're
thank you.
But
I'm surviving.
Is serious. Like you're not surviving, you thrive. Like you've got a good routine and good systems in place. I feel like for anybody listening, you know, what we talk about here in Naps for the working parent is sort of taking care of yourself first and doing things for yourself to then be able to set up those systems in place for your family. And so I'm just sort of curious, you have this rigorous day and not a lot of buffer time. What do you do for yourself? Like, how do you actually take care of yourself to be in this position where you really are sort of like crushing it?
So I will say that my husband pointed this out to me when Brim was first born, and it's a personality trait that I don't think I ever realized is pretty much at the forefront of how I live my life. I'm just, as much as I want to complain about something or as hard as I think it might be, I'm going to do everything I can to crush it. And it's only to prove to myself that I can do it. And that's the way that I have been with parenting, but I have a tendency to kind of not take the best care of myself when I'm in those moments where I'm just trying to learn. Like I had trouble breastfeeding, and I had, you know, it took forever for my milk to come in, and I was determined at the probably expense of my mental health for a little while there to make it work. And I did. But when it comes to just day to day, I'm really blessed to have family around. I don't know how we would accomplish, my husband and I, what we do in a day to day without having the support of family that are close by, that are willing to come over, that want to spend time with Bryn. They'll take her out, you know, they'll take her for the night. My mother-in-law comes at 6 o'clock every morning. And that allows me time to go to the gym or go get a facial or go get a massage. And I feel guilty. And I think that that's probably very relatable for a lot of moms. Yeah. I am that mom that's like, I'm just going to go take a shower really quickly. And then I'm in the shower like, what am I doing? And my husband will say, just ask me, you know, just like, tell me what you're going to go do and we'll make it work. You don't need to feel like you can't go out to dinner with your girlfriends or, ask me to come home early so that you can go to a workout class on a night you don't have work. It's okay. I beat myself up because he has 2 jobs. He runs a business and he's a firefighter. So I took this kind of approach at the beginning where I was like, I'm the mom, I have the lesser responsibility, I'm going to do everything. And I would go at it a bit differently with baby number 2.
It's so relatable for anybody listening. We all do this as women and moms. Like, number one, deciding that we're going to take on more for whatever the reason may be. Maybe it's, you just said your husband works 2 jobs. So right away you were like, I'll take on more mentally, physically, emotionally.
Yeah.
Or, we see that with anybody that's postpartum and they're home recovering. I'll get up for the night because my partner or family is working the next day, right? So we make up a lot of stories in our heads of why we need to do it all or take it all on. And even though we know, I know that I shouldn't do this. I do this for a living. We talk about it all the time. We all go through this. We all do this. I did it too, all 3 times.
It's like a control thing. I listened to your podcast about letting go, and I was like, yes, I was like nodding along the whole time because I do that. And I did that where, especially in postpartum, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do all of the feedings because I'm not going to sleep if he's doing it, because I'm worried that he's not doing it right. Or I want to make sure that it's, I don't know. I feel like I need to control it and I don't. And I have to let go of some of those things because other people want to and can do them. It doesn't just have to be me, including my partner and the caretakers that I have for my daughter.
Right. You have so many wonderful helpers. That's amazing in itself. You know what I've realized though, and I'll tell you this because if you reference it, if you do this again, you'll want to do it differently. I don't think I can ever stop myself or you or any mom out there from feeling those feelings. Like, those are, some of them are natural instincts. They're thoughts that we're going to have. We're going to find ourselves controlling or gatekeeping, right? So I actually don't think it's my job to stop that stuff. I won't, because I couldn't stop it for myself. But what I have realized is that I can recognize it, and that's what makes me respond different. So with Grace, my first, massive martyr, didn't accept help from anybody, like controlled everything. And I was a mess. Like, I wasn't even good at what I was doing. I thought I was like, doing everything the best. Eloise, my third, I still found myself like making those dumb comments to my husband, or like, oh, is that the outfit that you picked? And it's like, but the difference is now he'll call me out in a very nice way. And I'm able to be like, okay, I'm doing the thing that I don't want to do. And then I can move on from it. Right. So like, I still am going to do it. Like, you're still going to do it too. You're just going to maybe look at it differently. Same thing with the milestones. Like, you might still be printing off a worksheet for your mother-in-law for your second baby, but maybe it's when you like hand it to her that you're like, it's not actually that big of a deal if they don't get to these things today. Right.
Right. And everybody that I think, even speaking with you and Jamie both, you're like, all 3 of my kids are totally different. They all progressed in totally different paces. They all have different personalities. There's no cookie cutter way to approach parenting or milestones or your baby's growth. It's just, they're going to do it the way that they want to do it. And all you can do is nurture them and love them the best that you can.
I know. I think the biggest thing that I'm hearing from you too is like, back when I asked you, how do you thrive? You mentioned, I've heard you mention already, like that you like to ride the Peloton or you go for a facial, but actually really it's back to that you accept help, that you do accept help and you have help. So like, it's really like less about the meal. The meal trains are great. The lactation consultant helping you breastfeeding is great. The things that you have in place, but really the big theme and takeaway continues to be accepting help from people around you. That's why you're so successful.
And I know other colleagues of mine who have been in very similar situations, but don't have family around and are, they're still very successful. But they had that time period where it was a struggle to find childcare and be able to afford childcare, and also find childcare that fits into the role of somebody that works the hours that we do.
Right.
Especially for my situation with my husband being a firefighter, there's 2 days a week when he's gone for 24 hours a day. So I have to get up at 2:30 in the morning. I have a child sleeping in my room. I can't just go to work and expect my mother-in-law to show up at 6 and she's going to be good for 3.5 hours. She shows up at 2:45 in the morning and sleeps for 3 hours on my couch before my daughter gets up. Like, that's where I feel so blessed to have that, because I know other people who have really struggled, kind of working through those first few months of finding out how do we work our jobs at the full potential that we can while raising our children.
Oh, it's so true. It's such a struggle. And I feel like that brings us back to this place of feeling like you have to give something up too, or that you're not giving everybody that 100%, which also just isn't possible.
Yeah. And yourself, give yourself that 100% too, because I know, especially at the beginning, I mean, it's so hard and you just don't know, but looking back, like, I mean, I had some baby blues. I would say probably nothing more than just that, but I was just a weepy mess to everybody, but I wanted them to do things my way, even though I didn't know what I was doing. And, it was like, I remember the first time my sister-in-law came over, she's like, go get your nails done. And I was at the nail salon and I was like, I don't even know how to talk to people
But
anymore.
also,
Like,
were you like kind of having hives the whole time? Like that
yes.
first time that you do leave, you're like, I know I'm supposed to relax, but I can't.
Yeah. Well, then 3 months later, when I went back to work, I was just having 40-minute conversations in the hallway with people I had spoken to 2 times prior. I was like, adults, what's up, guys? Like, how have you been? Let's talk about everything. It was a full, transition in that time that I was home to being completely absolved in motherhood. And then the other side of it, just needing some adult interaction.
Yeah, totally. Oh my gosh. And then what a great job to have too, because you get to go out and talk to people all day long. And
All I do. Yeah. And I have so much more just empathy and understanding of when I do any sort of story that's related to somebody that's a parent or somebody that has a child or a sick child, or just, I approach my job in a totally different way because I just have an understanding that you don't have when you don't have kids.
So, well, we were talking about that this morning. I can tell that and I see that because you came and spoke to Jamie and I for probably over an hour. You were here.
Yeah.
And there was a lot that we talked about. And we had a real mom, a real naps mom here with a baby. And there was a lot to unpack. And it was the first time that a reporter was able to take over an hour of content of all that we do here at Naps and actually like beautifully summarize it in a really quick news segment. Truly, like and I know that you were able to do that because you've lived it, and you're a real mom, you're a working mom, you've gone through the same experiences, like you get it. You actually get how to explain to people who we are and what we're doing and why. Like, why is it so important? And so we're so appreciative of you actually like being able to put that narrative out there into the world.
Thank you. It was so nice to be able to talk to you. And I just know that there is a mom or somebody who just found out that they're pregnant or they're expecting or they're adopting or whatever, and they are kind of looking for that community. I think we all go through that because there's so much information at our fingertips. It's overwhelming. You don't know if it's reliable. You don't know where it's coming from. So my goal with that was there's got to be somebody sitting at home having their coffee, maybe feeling a little uneasy. And if they have a minute and a half to watch that and they find you guys that way, then I've done my job, because I was that mom in the labor and delivery room asking to take my nurses home and falling in love with each one of them and wondering how I was going to go home without their advice. It's like my first nurse taught me how to swaddle. I was like so nervous about swaddling before I gave birth to Bryn, which honestly I probably did like 2 times.
Right.
but I just
have our cell phone. You have my cell phone. You have Jamie's cell phone.
Yeah, and Naps is like, it's that ability to take your nurse home with you and get that cell phone number, but also just the the advice and the support and the feedback that you can find in your groups and your support groups, and also your chat rooms and all of the stuff that you put online, it's just like, it's just such a reassuring feeling as a mom that I might not know what I'm doing, but I'm going to figure it out, and it's going to be the way that works for me. And all these other people have done it too in different ways, but you just take what you get and figure out what works for you. And that's the best part of it.
I mean, I was literally going to ask you what you would want to tell anybody listening who's pregnant or a brand new parent, because, you're, it's not like I'm interviewing this like medical expert in the field on something right now. You're a real person and a real mom and a real parent out there. Just like we just talked open with like the 1-year-old transitions and just the messes that can happen. Like you're real and you're living in it. But I was going to ask you, what do you want? Like, if you could tell from a mom to mom or parent to parent, one thing looking back in the last year that you would want them to know, or that if you could break through in this moment and really move somebody, like what can you tell people as a real mom living right now?
I would say, first of all, this is coming from somebody who's still in there. I'm in my rookie year. You know what I mean? I'm just starting and just figuring it out, but like, you're never going to have it all figured out. You're constantly going to be questioning things and questioning yourself, but you just need to trust yourself and accept help and take time to remind yourself that you're a good mom, you're a good dad, you're a good partner, you're doing your best. And I think that those are things I try to say to myself at the end of every day, like that I'm doing my best. And that's what will hopefully keep me from waking up in the middle of the night with a million questions and things that I remember that I need to do the next day.
That's literally all we can do, because when you're a parent and you're working and you're in a marriage, there's all these buckets, right, that need, to be filled. And you can't fill them all perfectly every day. It's like a constant up and down. And so I do think I love that, like getting in bed at the end of the day and sort of just saying out loud, I showed up and did my best today. And maybe you feel like one bucket was a little bit emptier than the other. So like, tomorrow I'll like I'll give that one a little bit more attention or something. So you can only do so much, right?
And also that you will sleep again.
Oh yeah. Totally.
Like you really will. Because the beginning is just the first 2 months of just survival mode. I mean, everybody said that word. So you're in survival mode, but that's what you are. I was in sweat sets with, smelling like rotten milk. Okay.
I bet you look good postpartum. Like you always have, right? Because you're like a professional at hair and makeup. Like
no. And I was not putting on makeup. I was a hot mess, but it wasn't for me in that moment. It was about keeping this baby alive and figuring it out. So
well, I'm pretty sure I told you when you were here, I shot my Christmas card with Janelle, who was a photographer, Janelle Camarella Photography. She came and shot my Christmas photo when I was postpartum, like 6 weeks, and I have no bra on. I have no bra on in the Christmas picture, and my hair's in a bun because I wasn't planning on being in it. So I was like, shoot the kids. Just shoot the kids. And I'm in a gray on gray sweatsuit, no bra, no makeup, hair up in a bun, and I happen to like get in the picture, and that ended up being the Christmas card. So
there you go. I mean, that is the most real moment you can have right there. And there's nothing that sounds more daunting than getting ready hair and makeup wise when you are 6 weeks postpartum.
Oh no, take me the whole day just to get out of the house. Like I could be somewhere by 6 p.m.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, Katie. Well, I know you need to get out there in the world today and go. I wonder what's on tap for you today, but I got to get you out there into the world. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what's on tap, because you talk about moments when you're just going to go, like how I take care of me. So Bryn today is with her aunt, and I am going to get my nails done. Okay.
I love that for you.
We're doing a little mom time. So that's what I'm going to go do. I maybe take a nap and then I'm going to pick her up.
Amazing. See,
I've
and
been
if you
looking
can't
forward
do,
to
you
it.
might not be able to do that every day, but you've carved it in somewhere, and I love that. So
Exactly.
have
Yeah.
so much fun. And Katie, so we'll see you. Anyone listening to this can see you on WCVB, the Eye Opener.
Yep.
Where else
4:30 to 7, Monday through Friday.
Okay. And where else can people find you? I love your Instagram because you show some of your real life too on there. Do you want to
Yeah.
share your Instagram handle?
Yep. So it's Katie E_T. So there's two E's, KATIEE_T. Did I change my Instagram handle actually? No, I didn't. That's
Katie
it.
Thompson.
I've been trying to for years. Just search Katie
I'll
Thompson. You'll
find
find me.
you. Well, Katie, thank you so much for coming on. And I know we only scratched the surface of your naps. So I'll make sure you can watch our 1-year-old transitions video too.
Yeah, I've been peeking through the
Bottles
website.
and
It's
cups
phenomenal.
and naps and schedules and behaviors and anyone else out there who's in this 1-year-old transition phase. We have a whole other podcast on it and a whole course on it. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Emily.
And hopefully I'll have the pleasure of talking with you again soon. And thank you so much to everyone for listening. And I will be back with Jamie next week. Take care, everyone.